In this video, you'll learn how to create bills payable to a vendor. And bills can be tied to a purchase order. But you can also enter bills unrelated to purchase orders. We'll look at both options. Before you enter a vendor bill, note these considerations. Vendor bills are always assigned to a prime contract. So before you can enter a bill, the prime contract must be approved with an approval status date. If the bill will include change order items, the change order must already have been approved as well. The cost codes referenced by the bill must already have been set up in the project. Your field team can enter quantities of materials installed in daily logs, and you can use those values as the basis for the vendor bill quantities. If you want to use this method, make sure your daily logs are updated before you create the vendor bill. If the bill is tied to a purchase order, the purchase order must include the cost codes to which you'll apply the vendor bill. Once you enter a vendor bill, it will appear in cost-to-date transactions in Project Analytics. Once it's marked approved, it will affect the financial portion of Analytics. You can import vendor bills from a spreadsheet. To find the spreadsheet template, go to Help and expand Getting Started. Click the topic Import Items from Microsoft Excel, and then scroll down to Procurement, and click Bills. The topic has a link to the import file. The first table shows the list of header fields for the bill. Notice that the format is provided for all date fields. And the second table shows the additional columns for the bill line items. You must enter either a payment due date or payment terms, so the system can calculate the due date for you. Any terms you enter need to match terms that have already been added in settings. The vendor must already have been added to the project directory, and we recommend that you assign the TeamLink role, vendor. Send them an invitation to use the TeamLink site, so they can initiate bills on their end. If you include an item code in the line items, the system searches for that item code in the cost database work items table. If it finds a match, it uses the cost rate as the unit price for that item. We'll talk about the cost database in upcoming lessons. You can enter vendor bills in Sage Construction Management. But first, let's look at what it looks like when the vendor sends you the bill through the TeamLink portal. Once the vendor receives the TeamLink invitation, they can log in to see the project. They only see the areas of the project provided by the vendor role in TeamLink, and they only see their own documents and procurement areas, not those of all vendors. Under Procurement, they'll click the plus sign for bills and select an option. Let's create a bill using a purchase order. They'll click Next and select the prime contract and PO. The invoice number is required. Then, they'll select the items to bill for and adjust quantities as needed. Click Finish, and the bill is created. On the bill details page, they'll say the warning about expired insurance. They can click the link and then scroll down and add their current information. The vendor can also add any files or documentation to the bill by dragging it to the Related Files area. Now that we've created the vendor bill, let's return to the full system view. Under Procurement, click Bills, and we see the bill that was just created by the vendor in the list. When vendors enter bills, they're always set to pending status. Click the link to open the bill, and scroll down to see the items and quantities. You can see that it saves you some time when the vendor creates the bill for you. But now let's walk through how to create the vendor bill from the main window. From the Procurement Overview page, to the right of Bills, click the Actions button. If you select Add manually, you won't be able to select a purchase order, so only use that option if you're entering a vendor bill not tied to a PO. Notice that you can add manually or from a purchase order. You can import items from Excel, or you can copy an existing bill. The last option is convenient when you have multiple bills for the same vendor and purchase order. Let's select Add from PO. The prime contract, supplier, and purchase order are all required, so we'll select those and click Next. This step displays the line items from the purchase order. The bill might only be for a portion of the quantities on the purchase order, also known as partial delivery. If you use daily logs, and your field team tracks deliveries on site, you can select Show Daily Log Quantity to show the accumulated total of major material items received. You can use those as the amounts to enter for the invoice. Under Bill Information, add the supplier's invoice information. The bill type is optional, and the list can be modified in settings. We'll look at that in the video on procurement settings. Click Finish, and then scroll to see the areas for lien waivers. If you require a lien waiver before payment, click Edit, and enter the information. Under Linked Files, you can include images of the receipt or delivery ticket, as well as the vendor's invoice. In this example, a delivery slip was added as a linked file to the daily log, so let's include it with this bill. Click Link Existing, All Other Records, and select Daily Log as the feature name. This shows all files that have been linked to daily logs, and you can select the one to include. So far, we've entered bills that were linked to purchase orders, but you can enter a bill not linked to a purchase order. So when might you do that? Expenses, credit card, or debit card charges, such as gas receipts, could be entered either as bills payable to a vendor, or as a miscellaneous expense incurred by an employee as part of a job. Either option works fine, and we'll talk about miscellaneous expenses in an upcoming video. Click Actions, Add manually. Enter the header information, and then enter the line items. The billable field lets you indicate whether the item can be billed through a Cost Plus Prime contract. When you import charges to Cost Plus Prime invoices, only billable items are included. Now let's create a lien waiver for this bill. Go to Reports, Bill Detail. For the format, select one of the lien waiver options, and for the export option, select Save PDF to linked files. Scroll to Linked Files, and let's rename this file so we know it's a lien waiver. Click the link to open the details, and enter the name. Now let's generate the bill itself. Go to Reports, Bill Detail, and leave the format as is. For the export option, select Save PDF to linked files. In this video, you learned how to enter vendor bills, whether or not they're linked to a purchase order.